Hi, Komal. I think we can start. We are already
Right,
5:10 or so, no? 5:08, no?
right. And we have
Okay.
30 participants. We can start.
Okay.
Okay. So, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining this webinar today. My name is Komal Kanodia, working as a brand manager with MCure IVA, a division of MCure. And we are pioneer in the field of gynecology and IVF. And we are on a mission of nurturing 28 days of ovarian cycle. And hence, all our webinars are called as Programming 28 Webinars. Along with Programming 28 Webinars, we have taken a lot of other digital initiatives, and Moderna School of Art is one of them. I would like to thank Dr. Sangeeta Sinha for giving us this opportunity of hosting this webinar and sessions. We have already conducted one session, and this is the second session with Dr. Sangeeta. Would like to introduce her before just starting the webinar. She is IVF and ICSI specialist and done her IVF and ICSI from Warwick University, London. She has done her PGA in ART from London, UK, trained in laparoscopy in 2000 from Moulton Hospital, Delhi, under Dr. Sheila Mehra. She is also trained in IVF from Sri Gangaram Hospital, Delhi, under Dr. Abha Majumdar. She has also a lot of paper presentation on risk to the baby born after ICSI, complications of ART. She has also have a lot of international presentations, isolated symptomatic pleural effusion, and also a lot of publications, regional prevalence of gestational diabetes in 3 regions of North India, and umbilical endometriosis associated with umbilical hernia, MRKH syndrome, a case report in Apollo BSR, and lot many. So doctor, I would just like to, just say a big thank you to you for giving us this and agonist in clinical practice. So now, doctor, over to you.
Thank you, Komal. Thanks for the introduction. And good evening, all my dear viewers. Before starting the session, I will just like to say that am I audible and visible properly? Am I audible, Komal?
Yes.
Am I
Yes.
audible and visible both? Okay.
Yes.
So good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. So today we are in the second master class. And today we are going to discuss the agonist and antagonist. Look, this class is very precise and this is totally focused on the doctors who are dealing with the infertility practice. And today we are talking about the agonist and antagonist. Before starting the class, I think I will just like to brief you that we all are doing stimulations. If we are practicing infertility, we all are doing the control ovarian stimulation, you can say, or induction. So we all are using gonadotropins, or you can say the induction drugs, in like any type of gonadotropins we are using. But what is the role of this agonist and antagonist? Look, when we are stimulating a patient, either going for the IUI or for the IVF or for time intercourse, the idea behind the stimulation is that we had a good cohort of follicles, which is properly and which is growing in a proper synchronized way, and exactly if we have predicted that we had 8 follicles or 6 follicles for IVF or 10 follicles for IVF, or suppose 2 or 3 follicles for IUI, they are not going to be released before time. There should be no premature LS surge. There should be no luteinization before we are planning our things. So these agonists and antagonists at the right and left, they are going to help us out for a proper cohort of follicles to go on the time. So today, for another 30, 45 minutes, I think 40 minutes, I will be talking about what is the role of this agonist and antagonist in clinical practice. You can put your question in the chat box. I definitely, mostly my classes are two ways, not I am teaching only and the other are listening. So you can make it lubricative and we can have a good question answer session at the end. So come and start putting your questions in the chat box also. With this note, I'm just starting. I'm just uploading my presentation over here. Slides here. Share the screen. So please confirm me, is this my presentation is visible?
Yes, doctor, it's visible.
Okay,
Just made
okay,
it
thank you,
full
thank
screen.
you, thank you. So today we are discussing about the clinical implication of agonist and antagonist. How this agonist and antagonist is going to help us out during ovarian stimulation or some other aspect of gynae. I'm just putting in slides here. So only one or two slides regarding anatomy, or you can say the molecular things, which will help us out how we are working. We all know that they are hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis, HPO axis, hypothalamus, and then is the ovary, pituitary, and then is the ovary. From hypothalamus, GnRH, or you can say gonadotropin releasing hormone, is released. Then from the pituitary, it is the FSH and LH, and finally the estradiol and progesterone from the ovary is released. So this is the HPO axis the whole female system is working on. And so what is this GnRH, which is released from the hypothalamus? This is a peptide which is secreted from the hypothalamus. So now we are talking about its clinical counterpart, that is GnRH agonist. So this GnRH agonist is derived from the native GnRH, and there is a slight change in the position 6 of the amino acids. Just for a short brief, this is not a clinical thing, but I just want to add one slide for understanding the physiology. So now if we are adding GnRH agonist, how it works, that's very important, how it is going to work. Look, GnRH agonist is a molecule which is working in two different ways. If we are adding GnRH agonist daily, it suppresses. GnRH agonist, again, what happens? It goes and occupies the GnRH receptor in the pituitary. As it is a positive feedback is there, so it goes and just get stuck up with the GnRH receptors in the pituitary. And initially, what happens if we are giving it continuously? It is a continuously GnRH agonist is supplied, then there is separation of the HPO axis by receptor downregulation. So what it does, if we are giving it daily, it go and attach to the receptor, and then the receptor is downregulated and it is desensitized. So the continuously GnRH downregulates the receptor and it desensitizes. So when the GnRH agonist receptor is desensitized, then there is decrease in the periphery the gonadotropins, the FSH and LH is decreased. So this is the one mode of action, how the GnRH agonist works. Continuous GnRH, daily we are giving, blocks the receptors, they downregulate the receptors and desensitize the receptors. So in the periphery, there is decreased FSH and LH. So suppose in the periphery, the FSH and LH is decreased. So what is the plus point we are going to gain there? The suppression of this endogenous LH. So now we are worried about the mid-cycle LH surge. We are worried about premature luteinization. We are planning the pickup on Monday and the eggs get dissolved. So this prevents the mid-cycle LH surge. So the conclusion from this slide is that if we are giving continuous GnRH daily, they suppresses the receptors and then they suppresses the FSH and LH. So they prevent the premature LH surge. This is the continuous. But again, look at the last line, what is written in the slide. If we are giving this GnRH agonist, as I told you earlier, it go and stuck up with the receptor. And it is an agonist, it is not an antagonist. So it go and stuck up with the receptor, and initially there is a flare of effect will be there. So if we are giving a single dose, it go and get attached with the receptor and there is a gush of LH over there. So single dose leads to flare up effect. Sorry. I'm sorry. So it's a single dose, there is a flare up effect, and continuous dose, there is a down regulation effect. Again, I'm revising it. If we are giving a single dose, there will be a gush of LH. And if we are giving it daily, it down regulates the receptors and there is decreased LH. So the whole cycle, or you can say, even I will going ahead with the presentation, we are using these two mode of action, up regulation and down regulation. Continuous administration, down regulation, single dose, up regulation. Now coming to the this preparation, the clinical preparation. So this was the basic mode of action, continuous and single. Now, which preparation is available in the market? Commonly we are using two, leuprolide and brucellin, but they are again the battery, nafrolene, goserelin, triptolin. US and UK is mostly using the nafrolene and all. Decapeptyl is also there we are using. But commonly we are using these two, leuprolide and brucellin. These two are commonly used. And yes, they are depot preparation and daily dose preparation. There is hardly any difference between the depot and if we are administering it daily. So again, concentrating over the only two molecules, leuprolide and brucellin. Now coming how we are clinically using this. I told you continuous downregulate, prevent LH surge, single dose, upregulate, and the flare-up effect. So the first of all, we are using ovarian stimulation protocol. I'm summarizing one by one. We are also using in ovarian ovulation trigger, endometriosis, fibroid, luteal phase, precocious puberty, gonadal protection, and prostatic malignancy. So one by one, I will be describing everything. First, again, coming back to the ovulation stimulation protocol. Again, the same thing I'm repeating: down regulation, desensitization, and thus preventing the premature LH surge. Single dose, flare-up effect. There is a LH surge. We all know what LH do. LH leads to ovulation. In the natural cycle, in the normal physiology, there is a LH surge and ovulation happens. So single dose, flare-up effect, LH surge, and this is used as a trigger. So these are the two basic mechanisms of GnRH agonist in ovulation stimulation protocol. The first one, the down regulation. So GnRH agonist, while we are starting for the stimulation for the IVF, we can say, or IUI also. The one protocol is the long protocol. We can say there are different names of long protocol. We can say long protocol. We can say down regulatory protocol. We can say that flare down protocol. We can say GnRH agonist protocol. So you can name it in the various way: long, agonist, down regulatory, or flare down effect. Coming to the long protocol first. Same thing I'm again repeating. Continuous, if we are giving GnRH agonist, there is a flare down effect. So now coming to the clinical, the patient is sitting in the front of us and we have to plan the agonist protocol or long protocol or down regulatory protocol or flare down protocol. How we are going to start it? So it has to be started in the previous cycle. You have done a counseling, now you have planned, you have set up, you have to go for agonist protocol. So ask your patient to come between day 21, 22, and then start the dose, full dose. Again, I will be using two terms: full dose, half dose. I'm just telling you, starting from day 21 or 22, the full dose of GnRH agonist till day 1, first day of the periods. So from day 21 or day 22 or day 23, you are starting the full dose of GnRH agonist to day 1, and then the dose is halved. Now, what is the full dose and what is the half dose again? Finally, different molecules which is available in the market, we have concentrated into two, which is mostly available in India: the leuprolide and brucellin. Leuprolide uses 0.5 to 1 milligram daily, and then the dose is half. So what dose, full dose is what? 0.5 to 1 milligram. No, I just want to be very precise. If ask me, no, exactly, let me know the dose, because females are variable, koi 50, koi 60, koi 70 kg. So if we have to calculate in a precise way, this is the dose, 0.01 milligram per kg body weight. So the full dose which we are going to start from day 21 or 22 or 23 of the previous cycle is 0.01 milligram per kg body weight till day 1. And after day 1, the dose is halved. So how we are going to calculate it? I'm just first compiling this slide. So this is the long protocol dose of leuprolide, and we can use the depot preparation also, and that is a single dose. Again, in the luteal phase, 21, 22, 23, single dose of depot is given, 3.7 milligram. And this is equally good for the endometriotic patients. Nasal spray is also available. We are not commonly using because of the incompliance पेशेंट कितना डालेगा आपको पता नहीं होता. So 6 divided dose between 6 to 11 a.m. and again the dose is halved after day 1. So full dose, either depot or daily injection or nasal spray from day 21 to 23, either day 21, 22 or 23 till day 1, and then is the half. So now how to calculate the dose? So if you want to be very precise over the your patients, and if you are practicing infertility, you might have seen the vial of this leuprolide. They normally comes, you can, if you concentrate over slide, they normally comes in 4 ml. And if you look precisely over the vial, 4 ml is equal to 4 milligram. So this means 1 ml is equal to 1 milligram or 0.5 ml is equal to 0.5 milligram. In the previous slide, I have told you the dose is 0.01 milligram per kg body weight. And my patient's weight is 50 kg. So the calculation of 50 kg patient is 0.5 ml. So 0.5 ml is needed as a full dose for 50 milligram patients. And again, you know this vial contains 0.5 ml is equal to 0.5 milligram because the vial is a 4 milligram and vial is a 4 ml and it contains 4 milligram. So a 50 milligram patient needs 0.5 ml of this dose. And again, if we are injecting the patients, we are normally injecting this insulin syringe, which is of 1 ml. And that contains 40 units. If anyone has given the insulin injection or working in the IVF center, you can see it is 1 ml of the syringe is there. And again, the mark is there. 40 unit ka mark laga hota hai. So 0.5 ml is equal to 20 unit. So in normal instruction, what you are giving to your patient, if the patient weight is 40 kg, so if you have calculated in your mind, 0.5 ml lagana hai, so 0.5 ml is equal to 0.5 milligram. So this is equal to 20 unit. So your instruction is what? 20 unit daily from day 21 till day 1. And when day 1 is achieved, this 20 unit has been converted to 10 unit. Suppose your patient is of 60 kg, then again this 20 unit has been converted to, if you calculate again 0.01 into 60, so it will be calculated to 22 unit. And after day 1, the half dose is 11 unit. So this is the dose calculation if we are giving the continuous down regulation of GnRH agonist in a patient where we want the long protocol to be started or down regulated protocol to be started. This, as I told you, I think we have discussed this in earlier first 5 minutes. This is the hypothalamus, this is the pituitary, and again the ovary. So if the hypothalamus receptor is blocked, there is decrease in FSH and LH. And here from day 21, we have started the agonist. They have gone and blocked these receptors. So when the receptors is blocked, first of all, they go on receptor and then they block it and they desensitize it. So from day 21, you have started, and after, as you reach day 1, it is halved. And parallel, you have started the gonadotropins. I'm not going in the detail of dose of gonadotropins and all, because precisely we are focusing over the agonist and antagonist. So from day 21, the full dose is started, which is in 50 kg patient is 0.5 milligram, is 0.5 ml, is equal to 20 unit. And as soon as the PGS reaches from day 1 or day 2, it's 10 unit or 0.25 till you are giving the trigger. So what you are going to achieve, there is no LS surge. You have just stopped the GnRH agonist and you have given the trigger, and now as it is, you are doing the pickups. And yes, cycle cancellation is decreased. And it's the one of the important benefit is that earlier in our days when we started our practice, like 10 years back, 12 years back, we were doing batch IVFs. So it is a great benefit in batch IVF for pulling the batches together. So those who are doing batch IVFs with great benefit. And yes, follicles are growing in a coordinated way. We have started the action in the previous cycle, day 21. So the cohort goes on very nicely. Recovery rate is definitely good. And yes, chances of premature luteinization is very less. But again, sorry. But again, everything is a drawback. Look, nowadays, if you asked, agonist protocol is done hardly 10 to 20% or 30%. The things have been changed. The other protocols have been used. But today we are going to learn about the agonist and antagonist. And I'm telling you, it's a very good molecule. But again, everything is a drawback. Drawback kya hai? We are the follicles go on uncontrolled. We are getting good amount of follicles, good number of follicles. But again, if I teach my students, I just tell them we are shifting from quantity to quality. Quality matters more than quantity. So here the quantity is good, but the quality is compromised. I'm not telling it is bad, but the quality is compromised. Numbers are good, but the quality is a bit compromised because there's a pooling of oocytes. So the chances of a higher quality of aneuploidy is there. The one important thing. But the most important thing, why this GnRH agonist protocol, or you can say the long protocol or downregulated protocol is decreased in fashion, it's just because of ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome. This is the one of the important culprit over there. Because we all know that SCG is the culprit of ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome. And in the long protocol or downregulated protocol or GnRH agonist protocol, we can't use, we are bounded to use SCG for the trigger. So it's very difficult to prevent ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, or even a single patient suffers ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, that's bad nowadays. So this is the only drawback. That's why people started finding the other option, this protocol. And again, we are suppressing so much. Some patients have hot flushes and dryness and transient frontal headache. This was a long protocol or downregulated protocol or flare or agonist protocol. Now, there are other three protocols where GnRH agonist is used. The short protocol, the ultra short protocol, and GnRH agonist protocol. So don't mix up with the things. We are going with the other protocol. This is the flare protocol or ultra short protocol, you can say. Here, we didn't have to jump to the previous cycle. We are starting our GnRH agonist from day one itself. But this protocol is not very much in fashion, but yes, it is mostly used for the poor responders patient. As I told you earlier, that's was the point we're putting this mechanism of action of GnRH agonist. They go and attach to the receptor. So if there is a single dose or two dose, there is a upregulation. If there is a continuous, there is downregulation. So here the full dose is given on day 1 and to day 3. What happens that this full dose leads to upregulation. There is a flare of effect. So in these poor responders patient, those who have very few antral follicular counts, they are very much worried about their own follicles, their own eggs. We are adding this GnRH agonist on first, second, and third day. So what happens? There is an upsurge of FSH and LH. So we are squeezing much number of follicles. Again, the same molecule, the idea is different, how we are using it. That's why the physiologic part is very important. So we are giving here the full dose. Again, full dose, you can understand 50 milligram, 50 kg patient is 0.5 ml. That is 20 unit. So full dose is given from day 1 to day 3. And parallelly, we are starting gonadotropins. And here we are using the upregulatory effect or the flare-up effect. As you can see here in this slide, agonist full dose. And we started. Am I audible and visible properly?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay, thank you. So we are starting from first, second, and third day agonist full dose, and parallel gonadotropins is given. So here the upregulatory effect or flare of effect is used. Same molecule, different mode of action. Short protocol is a third protocol again. Here the lupryl acetate, again we are talking about these two molecules only. They are administered from day 1 till the trigger. I didn't have a very clinical experience in this short protocol. I'm not seen very much people doing this. I'm skipping this slide. Again, this is a quite pretty, since you can say tempting. GnRH1 stop protocol. So again, it is started in the same way as the long protocol from day 21, 22, or 23. and full dose, then day 1, stop the GnRH. Don't continue the GnRH. Withhold once the gonadotropin is started. And the study says that, yes, they work in the same, like prevent premature LS surge. I didn't have much more clinical experience. Studies are needed for this protocol also. So if you want to compile me the use of GnRH agonist in ovarian stimulation protocol, I will say GnRH agonist long protocol is time tested, but yes, it has its own pros and cons. Ultrashort protocol I also find very promising, and short protocol I didn't have a very much idea. So single molecule, different use in different time. So this was the one mode of action of GnRH agonist, which we were using in ovarian stimulation. Jahan we are taking the follicles up, and this is in either right or left. The idea behind is that good number of follicles, cohort of follicles are parallelly going on, preventing the premature LS surge, and in ultrashort protocol, in helping in the flaring up the follicles, making good cohort of follicles. The second role of this GnRH agonist as a trigger. We all know that trigger is just a it's not like a banduk fire karna. Trigger is just as the natural LS surge, body physiology. Normally, if you remember the which we have read in the MBBS days, there is a normal LS surge is day 11, day 12, and surge lasts for 48 hours, and then the ovulation happens. And normally, what this LH2, they convert from M1 to M2. So in all the artificial, these cycles, we are replacing this natural LS surge to artificial LS surge to makes the thing convenient. We are planning IY, we are planning pickups. We are planning and we are taking the command on our hand. LS should be in our hand. We give the LS surge and we plan the pickups. We give the LS surge and we plan the IY. So GnRH agonist is also used as a natural LS surge. Again, same thing I'm repeating. We have just listened in the third slide. Single dose attached to the receptor, surge of LH. So here this action is being used, flare up effect, and we are replacing SCG. So look at the boom. We are replacing SCG. Anybody practicing IVF can think of what the ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome means. It's nightmare. Raat bhar neend nahi aati, what happens? So if we are replacing SCG from GnRH agonist, it's nothing like, because there is a single role in infertility, no harm to the patient. So here GnRH agonist, I think in 90% of our country has been replaced by SCG as a trigger. We are using GnRH agonist as a trigger here. So again, the dose varies from 0.5 to 4 milligram. So as soon as you feel your follicle reach to 18 millimeter or 20 millimeter or sometimes 17 millimeter plus, you give the trigger of GnRH agonist and plan your pickups. You can plan your IUI also, but you need a good luteal support. So the best advantage is that prevention of ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome. Again, there are some plus and minus in every molecule. So we need good luteal supports, because there is sometimes luteal lysis is much more. So here, if we are using GnRH agonist, we need a good luteal support. So normally we didn't encourage in IUI patients, we give SCG. And mostly if we are giving in, and normally we all are doing freeze transfer. So it hardly matters if we are using agonist. So if anyone who is doing freeze transfer, agonist should be used 100% as a trigger. So the first part was what GnRH agonist does in the ovulation stimulation. The second part was what GnRH agonists do for the trigger. And the third one is that GnRH agonist in luteal phase support. Look, I'm just telling the opposite thing what I've told in the previous slide. You are giving GnRH agonist as a trigger, and the luteal phase support gain is done because you need good luteal supports, because it leads to luteal lysis much more. But look at the studies. Actually, I'm not clinically practiced this, but look at the studies. It was published in 2006 in Human Reproduction. And this was the data. What they say that GnRH agonist in luteal phase helps in enhancing the embryo implantation. The GnRH receptors is expressed in human pre-implantation embryo, endometrium, and corpus luteum, and implicating a direct effect of GnRH agonist on these targets. Clinical studies are less. If you ask me, I have not practiced much because I'm scared of going GnRH, but this was one of the important points. That why I added the slide. And so they say that if we are giving GnRH agonist a single dose, 6 days after ICSI, the chances increases. But again, mostly it is theoretical. Clinically, not much people are using this. So this was the third importance of GnRH agonist in clinical practice. This most of the gynec or everyone is using in endometriosis. We are just suppressing the HPO axis, hypogonadal states. We are giving the depot injection, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. So, and they just suppresses the endometriotic tissue. Nothing much here. GnRH in fibroid, yes, we also are using, suppresses the HPO axis, hypoestrogenic state. Sorry. And so decreases the blood flow, cell necrosis, decreases flow, depot injection. I think everyone will use it. In precocious puberty, you also use. I've used only in one patient, but I think didn't keep the follow-up, patient lost. So I don't know how much promising is that. So downregulation, the precocious puberty is halted, depot preparation is given, and 3 monthly preparation is reported. Clinical experience is less for me. This I find very promising. GnRH, suppose a patient is going for the chemotherapy and they have very less time and they don't want their oocyte to be freezed, or they don't want their sperms to be freezed, or they're in a panic state. So this GnRH, again, as I told you, GnRH downregulates. So what they do that the cellular, again, if you are giving chemo or radio, the cellular apoptosis is prevented by the direct action of agonists. They hibernate the cells. The preantral follicle goes primordial follicle to preantral follicles. So there is a hibernation of cells is there. So the cell destruction is less. I'm not telling it's very good, but kuch nahi to haan. So GnRH is also used as a gonadal protection during chemotherapy. So these are the clinical implications. The first one in stimulation, different protocols, very important, the trigger. And the third one in the luteal phase support, not very promising, or you can say the clinical data is not much more. The fourth one we are using for fibroid, everyone is using, we are using for endometriosis, everyone is using precocious puberty. Those who have lots of patients or those who are working in that center might be using, and for the gonadal protection. So the first half of my presentation is there. I just compiled this, the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats of this GnRH agonist. So the best part is that if you're doing batch IVF, long-term use is very good. Again, you are extracting good amount of oocytes. If you plan, you have to go for freeze transfer, it's not bad. But the weakness is that you have down-regulated or you suppressed so much, the gonadotropin's requirement is increased. Injections dose is increased. So that's why it's become a costly, it becomes a time-taking procedure. And we have to stay for 21, from day 21, then trigger. And then if you're asking for a transfer, then you have to come back. So these are the weaknesses. Now everybody wants to jaldi ho jaye cheezein. And but if we are doing the freezing program, it's very good. So ultimately, if I conclude, the GnRH agonist is the best for the trigger. Nowadays, GnRH agonist is good for the poor responders also. And it's very good if we are going for the freeze cycle. If we are going for the freeze cycle, it's very good. Now coming to the second molecule which we are planning to discuss today is the GnRH antagonist, just reverse, agonist and antagonist. Antagonist is the just reverse. So it's also a peptide, and again a bit of this molecular and I just hate these slides. So histamine at position 2 and tryptoline at position 3 are replaced by D-amine and blah, blah. So finally, they conclude that antagonist is reverse. It's a third generation antagonist. And commercially, the two products are available, citrulix and ganirelix. Again, this is a very important slide. What is the mode of action? Here, these molecules, I tell you, we all can use gonadotropins very precisely, because suppose if you have missed one dose of gonadotropins, aaj injection nahi lagaye ya kam lagaya, so apart from getting 8 to 10 follicles, you can get 6 to 8 follicles. But if you are not the master of these agonists and antagonists, so you are putting the probe and doing the planning for the pickup, and say all the follicles are released, there's lots of free fluid. Are yaar sare ande phat gaye. So the physiology and the mode of action is very important. How to use, when to use, and what is the ideal dose. That's why these molecules are very dangerous, more dangerous, even though they 0.5 ml lagana hai. But again, if the sister is not precise, also wo gir gaya, so the whole cycle is crashed. If trigger hi aapka proper nahi laga, the whole cycle is crashed. We're just getting the empty follicle or M1 follicle. So antagonist, coming to the mode of action, again, it's going and blocking the receptors. Where GnRH receptors is go and block it. Plus point is that short action hai, immediate action hai, and reversible hai. And the plus point is that there is no receptor loss. So it is short acting, immediate acting. Again, the negative aspect is that constant supply, aaj bhi laga rahe, kal bhi laga rahe. That's important. So this blocks the GnRH receptor. So when it blocks, immediately FSH and LH is cut off. And again, fir kal supply fir karna hai after 24 hours. But yes, till you want your trigger, the SCG or agonist to be given, then till then you can block it. So again, for the clinical practice, yes, premature ALS surge. The one protocol, as I told you, for the stimulation was GnRH agonist protocol. We started the stimulation. We are giving gonadotropins. We reached the follicle size 18, 20. We give the trigger. But when we are using the antagonist protocol, straightway we are starting the stimulation, gonadotropins. And then for prevention of premature ALS surge, we are using this antagonist. So here there is no role of agonist. We can start from day 2 straightway. Short cycle, chota hai. And by day 11, 12, 13 days, you have pick up. And for prevention of premature ALS surge, for prevention of release of the follicles, for prevention of corpus luteum to be formation, you can use antagonist. We call it antac cycle. And suppose you are planning for the IUI and you want to prevent, patients say all the times my follicle release when it is 16 or 17. So you can just use this antac to prevent the premature ALS surge and to prevent the premature ovulation in cases of IUI, or you don't want to work on Sunday. And yes, in case of thaw cycle, where you prevent the premature ALS surge, and one of the also the important indication in polycystic patients, as we all know that if the LH is very high on day 2, the stimulation becomes difficult because this high LH is going to ruin the whole cycle. So we can add this antac on day 2 and day 3 also, just to balance the FSH and LH, and we can start the cycle. And yes, if sometimes we are in the verge of ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, the early onset, we can add this. Some study says that because of this luteolative effect, the antagonist can be used. Again, revising this. For prevention of premature ALS surge in IVF patients before pickup, we want IUI, and we want IUI on our own day, like avoiding Sunday, or the husband is not there, preventing premature ALS surge. In thaw cycle, we again want not the progesterone to be very high, so preventing premature ALS surge. In PCOS patient, when the LH is high on day 2, and we want to continue our cycle, so we don't want to waste the cycle. And in sometimes in ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome. So this is the use of antagonists in clinical practice. There are two types of protocol. The one is the single dose protocol. Practically, it is not being using. So not, and the other one is the multi-dose protocol, the Lubick protocol. This multi-dose protocol can be used in two ways: the fixed protocol and the flexible protocol. Fixed protocol is that you are starting from day 6 of the cycle, and you are giving this antac, as it is short half-life. So you are giving this antac till you are giving the trigger. Like day 11, you are giving the trigger. So you have to give it daily. Flexible protocol, you have to start follicle size which is more than 14 or 14. And by 18, 17, you are giving the trigger. Daily you have to give it. Sometimes there is not much of difference. You're starting on day 6 and see follicle is 14. Oh, it's parallel. So basically flexible protocol is for the experienced one. Those who have an idea कि कब release होगा, and fixed protocol for the beginners. Go on in straight pattern way. The stimulation has been started, and then the fixed protocol and the flexible protocol. As I told you, when there is high LH on day 2, the LH-FSH ratio is altered. We all know that we are needing LH after 7 to 8 days for the maturation and the growth of the follicle. But if the LH is high, so you can add antagonist, they will block the receptor for short time, and you can start your stimulation. So finally, to conclude my presentation and the two comparative studies, that agonist and antagonist has a very important role, and they are precisely very good on their when they are needed. So we have to initially compile where to use it. Agonist has an initial fear of effect, we all know, that's why using it as a trigger. Pituitary desensitization, we are using in down regulation cycle. Reversal is slow, that's why we are freezing it. Yes, longer duration of stimulation, so patient get fatigue. And ample of gonadotropin is required, more cost. Risk of ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, that's why it's kept in sideline. And we had only one SCG option as a trigger when we are using agonist protocol. Estrogen deprivation symptoms are there. Patient come on day 2, doctor bahut headache ho raha. And antagonist immediate comeback, rapid reversal, less amount of dose, short cycle, patients are happy, less number of injections, very less chance of hyperstimulation syndrome. And the most important plus point is that trigger is by GnRH agonist. So hyperstimulation chances is very much decreased. So I thank you all for your patient listening, and I will be very happy if you ask any question or any queries. It will be my pleasure.
Thank you, doctor. So if anyone is having any questions, so they can ask in the Q&A box.
Or I think you can unmute them also.
Sure.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Very informative.
Thank you, Sunilji. And I think either I was very fast or I was slow. Great presentation.
Voice is
Thank you,
very much
Paridhi.
clear.
Thank you, Paridhi. I was very happy if my students ask some question and squeeze me. If anyone has any question, I will be very happy. We have another, I think, 7 minutes, and it will be more interactive if we had question answers. I think there is one question in chat box. How antagonists are helping in PCOS? Yes.
PCOS.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Anupma.
Please,
So your question was how antagonist is helping in PCOS cycle. Look, if we are first of all, if you are asking for the IVF cycle, so actually it's very important when you are taking a patient for IVF or polycystic ovarian syndrome. So again, these patients have the antral follicular count is very much, and these are one of the patients who are going to land up in, if we think of, these are the patients who are more prone for ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome. So if we are if we are taking a patient in anteric cycle, that's a boom. And so here you can give agonist as a trigger, and you can prevent this ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome. So ideally, antagonist cycle is best for these PCOS patients, so that you can give the agonist trigger and prevention of ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome.
Dr. Anupama, you can even unmute yourself if you have any other questions. So I have we have one hand raising.
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So anyone else? So I think it's to tea time, and we can have tea, and the weather is also very good. So we
Right.
should compile. How is the weather there in Delhi, Komal?
In Delhi, it's okay, like not that hot, but yeah.
In
So
Mumbai, it's great.
Okay, Di. So we can have chai and pakora online also.
Not, madam, you are most welcome. बोलिए मैं तो आपके घर के पास ही हूँ, आ जाता हूँ.
Okay, great, Mr. Sunil. We can have this. So I'm waiting
Yeah.
for my husband, and I will call you. कि आज हम एक पकौड़ा लेके ना मैं तेरी वाइफ के हाथ का पकौड़ा. So thank you all. Thank you, MQ, for giving me the opportunity to share this platform with all my lovely experienced doctors. And thank you, Komal. And thank you, Sunilji. And thank you all our friends and doctors who joined this platform and encouraged me. Thanks a lot. I think last word from Komal, you.
definitely, doctor, thank you so much. It was actually a really great session, even lot of understanding. I just took a lot of screenshot of your presentation because
Taken
it
all the
was
slides from
Me
you.
it was
Me too. I also have taken.
okay,
Thank you,
Dr.
Anupama-ji.
Anupama. Actually, it was really good. So thank you so much, doctor. Hope to have many more sessions like this going forward.
And
Thank
even,
you.
madam, one thing just like to tell you, this is
Thanks.
very much
Thank you.
informative.
So,
Just
Mrs.
share
Sunil,
all the
I think we are not audible properly. थोड़ा सा जोर से बोले.
थोड़ा जोर से.
Yeah, ma'am. What I am saying, the session is very much informative for us. It has cleared all the doubts, do's and don'ts about the gonotropin as concerned. Even this session also wonderful for my team actually. They have made their knowledge
Thank
so
you.
that they
Thank
can
you.
interact with the doctors actually.
So
Thanks a lot, madam.
actually, the idea behind these small classes and the small group is that na, because these things na, when I teach, when the students comes to me na, they're very much confused. The idea behind the repeating and revising the slides is that कुछ चीजों को दिमाग में बिठाना होता है, and then it's go and smoothly. So that's why I just feel कि master class is very good. I find it very encouraging.
And then another
I don't
core
know what
master
about
class.
my listeners and viewers,
No.
but I feel कि वो because I feel कि यार मेरे को पहले किसी ने बताया होता इतने प्यार से तो मैं जल्दी समझ जाती हूँ.
बराबर है. Even, madam, you are a
Thank you.
hope for us actually.
Thank you, dear.
And
Thank
definitely
you.
we do more
Thank you all.
master
Thank you,
class with
dear.
you, madam.
Thank you all.
I'll just end the meeting now.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.